22 minutes late this morning. We've just arrived at our second destination for our weekly major shopping. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for being so patient. I'm setting up my little phone broadcasting thing here because I want to share something fun with you this morning. I build it as the Princess Bride of Tarot, the Kabbalistic Princess Bride of Tarot. I'm sure I've discussed this particular matter in many different ways over the years, but it's really an important aspect to Kabbalah, it's to magic, and to tarot, and it's the idea of literally the Princess Bride, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Anyway, before I read this little section, it'll be from this time from my book, Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot, which of course I hope you have. But I'm going to be referring in a couple places to the Tree of Life here. Now I can't see what I'm showing you very well this morning because it's on my little camera, but I want you to note in particular number 1, number 2, number 3, number 6 right in the middle, and number 10 right at the bottom. And we could look at number 2 as being the king in the tarot, or the knight in the Thoth Tarot in my deck. But the king, the queen, the prince, number 6, and the princess, number 10. If we just keep those little landmarks in mind, we'll be in good shape. The reason that this is so important is because the Holy Guardian Angel in magic and in Hermetic magic is a very, very important concept, because until we've been united with our each individual Holy Guardian Angel, we're not a complete us yet, okay? We're not firing on all cylinders. We're not a complete unit yet. We don't really know what's in our best interest and what is not in our best interest. And because a magician is a person who goes through existence attempting to come to the realization of what his or her own will is in the universe, what their duty, why they are here, unless the magician knows what their will is, they have no business doing what they don't know, okay? Or if you don't know what your will is, all your magic is really a hit and miss, accidental affair. If you don't know what's in your best interest or not in your best interest, it's kind of dangerous to be playing with stuff like that. Okay. So when you get the Holy Guardian Angel, that level of consciousness informs you more accurately where to aim your magical operations, your magical ambitions. So I said that poorly because I'm in the parking lot of a grocery store. The Holy Guardian Angel is more than the projected image of our perfected self, or the voice of our conscience. It is more than the innocent, inherent knowledge between right and wrong. It is more than the divine ear that hears us when we look to heaven and pray, "Oh God, if you just get me out of this, I'll never do anything so stupid again." But what that more than is difficult to discuss. Difficult, but we must try to discuss it if we're going to understand how this relates to tarot. Let's expand the fairy tale analogy and look at the characters as if, and the characters are king, queen, prince, princess, or specifically in the Thoth deck in Tarot of Ceremonial Magic, we treat them as knight, queen, prince, princess. Okay. Let's look at these as if they're the letters Yod, He, Vav, He, and see where they might live on the tree of life. And please remember, every time I talk about the tree of life, I'm talking about more than just great cosmological abstractions. I'm talking about you and me. Each of us is an individual, living, breathing tree of life. Every tree of the 4 Kabbalistic worlds, every path, every sephirah, has its counterpart in our own bodies, our own minds, our own spirits, and our own souls. Ultimately, all the characters in our fairy tale are already living in the first sephirah, Kether, which is the ace of each suit. Of course, they'll only realize this in the timeless moment of ecstasy when they and all of the units of consciousness in the cosmos finally wake up and realize we are one big consciousness. For practical purposes of discussion, however, we can safely say that the ace is the Kether, the monad, the environment of supreme deity, above all concepts of duality, above the separation of male, female, king, queen. So that's the ace. Our fairy tale king is the Yod of Yod He Vav He and lives in the second sephirah, Chokmah. His head, however, like the pointy little tip of the Hebrew letter Yod, really pokes up into number 1, Kether. But as long as the king identifies himself as a king, he's unaware of his more exalted identity and has convinced himself that he lives in Chokmah. The queen. The queen is the first He in Yod He Vav He and lives in the third sephirah, Binah. It's only fitting that this royal couple lives above the abyss in the supernal triad. They unite and become one, as good couples should, and for a moment enjoy the ecstasy of being one. Kether. Then, after a cosmic cigarette, the king rolls over and goes to sleep. As the king snores away in Chokmah, the queen becomes aware that, in this brief moment of ecstasy, she has become pregnant with twins. She eventually delivers. The 2 babies, a prince and a princess, plop out below the abyss. The prince doesn't fall too far from the supernal triad palace, but the princess slides all the way to the bottom, Malkuth. Now, the young prince is the Vav in Yod He Vav He. He's a bright boy and organizes a neatly ordered principality in the Sephiroth 4 through 9. These 6 Sephiroth are often referred to in Kabbalistic literature as the macrocosm, the greater world. Even though his principality is all 6 Sephiroth of the macrocosm, our fairy tale prince's headquarters and main corporate office is the 6th sephirah, Tifareth. By the way, in our own personal tree of life, the prince is our own holy guardian angel. Can you see where this is leading? The princess is the final Hey in Yod He Vav Hey, and is literally trapped in the 10th Sephirah Malkuth. In Kabbalistic literature, Malkuth is often referred to as the microcosm, the lesser world. If the princess were not sleeping most of the time, she would see that she is a very complicated and confused character. She, of course, is the daughter of the king and queen, but mysteriously, she belongs to an even younger generation than that of her brother Prince. As a matter of fact, even though she is closely related to the king, queen, and prince, her magical genes are so polluted and far enough removed from those of the rest of the family that should she marry her brother, the prince, it would not even be considered incest in a court of cosmic family law. Now, you've probably guessed that you and I are the fairy tale princess. We're almost completely asleep to the larger spiritual reality and are restlessly thrashing around in the bed of the material plane, trying to understand everything with our laughably inadequate senses and explain it with our laughably inadequate language. It's kind of depressing, isn't it? Nevertheless, we quite literally have an ace up our sleeve. Because low as the princess is on the tree of life, banished as she is from the spiritual triad, separated as she is from her brother lover, the prince, in his macrocosmic principality, trapped as she is in the microcosmic tomb of matter, the princess is the most important character in our mystic fairy tale. Her importance lies in the fact that she is the lowest of the low and is the key to the, quote, general doctrine that the climax of the descent of matter is the signal for the redintegration, or return to the former of state, the redintegration by spirit. And I mentioned it briefly in chapter 8. No other character in our fairy tale, except the inscrutable singularity of Kether, the ace, has what the princess has. That is, a bit of everything from the highest high to the lowest low. As Proclus wrote, the heaven is in the earth, but after an earthly manner. And the earth is in the heaven, but after a heavenly manner. The holy guardian angel prince doesn't have any lowest of the low. He's stuck in cosmic middle management and passionately needs a bit of the princess's divine DNA if he's ever going to clone himself back to being a king. One kiss from the princess, you, is all it will take. He will then wake up and realize he is king, which will cause the princess to wake up more and realize she is his bride and the queen. These two newlyweds will then unite in a cosmic orgasm that explodes and melts away all sense of separateness. In the truest sense, the king Hokmah and the queen Binah are again annihilated in one eternal moment, they realize they are not two, but one. From the alchemical point of view, the king and queen's ecstatic disillusion was caused by the universal solvent vitriol. Okay, now I'm going to jump ahead for a second. Vitriol is the initials of the Latin phrase, "Visit the interior parts of the earth, by rectification thou shalt find the hidden stone." Okay. So from an alchemical point of view, the king and queen's ecstatic disillusion was caused by the universal solvent, or acid that burns everything, solvent, vitriol. The princess was the hidden stone, and she certainly was buried in the interior parts of the earth. And she certainly got herself rectified by marrying the prince and becoming queen, and so on ad infinitum. And does everybody live happily ever after? Well, after a fashion. Unfortunately, the cycle immediately repeats itself, because when the ecstatic afterglow of the realization of oneness wears off, the queen once again finds herself pregnant. The king again falls asleep and awaits the queen's loving nudge. Of course, she will only be in the mood to give the old man the nudge when she's comforted by the fact that the royal children are once again safely home. This dynamic and somewhat incestuous love story is the secret of Yod He Vav He. It is the electricity of creation, a divine alternating current coursing eternally in two directions at the same time, from ace to princess, from princess to ace. I hope my little fairy tale has helped you more clearly understand the dynamics of this universal formula. Many of you may even think that I was being overly childish in my narrative. Crowley's version is decidedly more adult and ultimately far more informative. As we learned in Chapter 7, he delighted in using wild and blasphemous words and imagery to communicate perfectly wholesome spiritual concepts. So, this is Crowley's view of Lon's talk. Crowley's queen is the whore of Babylon, mother of abominations. Crowley's king is the beast, the all-father chaos. When Crowley's king and queen unite, it is Babylon riding the beast. Crowley's returning new wedded prince and princesses are, or is, the blood of the saints. Crowley's queen does not just rejoice at the homecoming of the royal children, she throws a cosmic party and becomes drunk of the blood of the saints. Instead of a queen who politely nudges her king awake to make love, we have Babylon the Great in her whoredom awakening the poison of the eld of the All-Father, and then once again mounting the beast. That's pretty hot telling of that story, okay? I again remind you that when we talk about these characters, we're talking about aspects of ourselves and levels of consciousness most of us have yet to experience. If we could wake up and see the big picture, we'd realize that we are all at once the ace, the king, the queen, the prince, and the princess of this cosmic fairy tale. But we're not yet awake. As Rabbi Ben Clifford says, The you that you think is not you. It is a dream you. In fact, the you that you think is a dreamer inside a dreamer inside a dreamer inside a dreamer. You are the king of the universe who's fallen asleep and is dreaming he's the queen, who has fallen asleep and is dreaming she is the prince, who has fallen asleep and dreaming he is a sleeping princess. In a most personal and intimate way, each of us is the sleeping princess. Each of us awaits as a bride-to-be for the kiss of our prince, our holy guardian angel, and a return to our spiritual estate. Recall Crowley's quote at the beginning of the chapter. The single supreme ritual is the attainment of the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. It is the raising of the complete man in a straight vertical line. Any deviation from this line tends to become black magic. Any other operation is black magic. The vertical straight line is the raising of our consciousness from Malkuth, the tens, the Sephirah of the microcosm, to Tifereth, number 6, the central Sephirah of the macrocosm. Until this is accomplished, until each of us has united our microcosm with the macrocosm of the holy guardian angel, we're not playing with a full deck. We are not balanced enough to know good from evil. And all our actions tend to become black magic. Crowley devised a magical word to illustrate knowledge of and conversation with the holy guardian angel. And he mentions it several times in the Book of Thoth. And Lady Harris incorporates it graphically in the trump card, the Chariot. It is the word that symbolizes the union of the numbers 5 and 6. 5 representing the microcosm, the little world, centered in Malkuth, and you and me, the princess, and 6 representing the macrocosm, the big world, centered in Tifereth, the holy guardian angel. The magical word is Abrahadabra. It is composed of 5 A's amid 6 other letters. And I think we'll talk about Abrahadabra tomorrow when we get together. I know I apologize again for being late this morning. But you know Tuesdays are often like this, so I hope you continue to enjoy this period between Christmas and New Year's. Constance and I, on New Year's Eve at 12 noon at New Year's Eve, are going to engage in a 15-minute meditation. Now, that's 12 noon Pacific time, but it's 8 p.m., I believe, Greenwich Mean Time. We would like you to all join with us in that 15 minutes. If you don't have the ability to sit quietly and mentally hold our hands and hold the hands of everybody, then do it as a background meditation throughout whatever it is you're doing. And please scroll down on my Facebook page and see my entire posting of what Constance and I wrote about what we would like to do. We would like to break the ice we'd like to break the ice of this winter of our crazy despair, and all give of ourselves to each other, and to receive strength and love from each of us. So it's a giving and a taking. And imagine if there's 300 or 400 of us doing it, imagine us all for 15 minutes just holding our hands with each other and supporting each other, loving each other. But read my posting, and I'll try to repost it again very shortly, and over the next few days. So I'd be happy if you would join us on New Year's Eve.